Commander Lee stood at the back of the crowded memorial hall on Farsis 9, uncomfortable in her formal uniform. The planet's gravity felt slightly off, as it always did on colony worlds. The funeral for Dr. Park, one of humanity's most brilliant synorchaeologists, had drawn people from across the galaxy. Lee hadn't known Dr. Park well, but Space Command had insisted she attend as an official representative. She scanned the room, recognizing various human officials mixed with a handful of alien diplomats. The memorial display at the front caught her attention, particularly several ancient-looking artifacts placed prominently beside Dr. Park's holographic image. "Those items look familiar," she whispered to Captain Kim beside her. "They should," Kim replied quietly. "Those are first contact artifacts, but they were reported missing from the Heritage Archives years ago." Lee frowned. The stone tablets and metal cylinders had distinct markings she recognized from her military training. They contained crucial historical records from humanity's first meetings with alien civilizations. Their presence here made no sense. The ceremony began as colony officials spoke about Dr. Park's contributions to understanding galactic history. Lee barely listened, her focus fixed on the artifacts. Something wasn't right. Halfway through the service, the memorial hall doors opened. A group of tall, blue-skinned aliens entered silently. The Telefederation representatives moved with fluid grace, their ceremonial robes shimmering in the dim light. A wave of whispers passed through the human attendees. The Tela rarely attended human functions, and never without invitation. Their appearance at Dr. Park's funeral was highly unusual. "What are they doing here?" Kim muttered. Lee shook her head. "I don't know, but I intend to find out." When the formal service ended, attendees moved to a reception area. Lee watched as one of the Tela approached the memorial display, long fingers hovering near the artifacts. Making a decision, she walked directly toward the alien diplomat. "Excuse me," Lee said, keeping her voice professional. "I'm Commander Lee of Earth Space Command. May I ask your interest in these artifacts?" The Tela turned, silver eyes blinking slowly. "I am Representative Jin of the Tela Federation. We have come to pay respects to Dr. Park. He was a friend to our people. And these items." Lee gestured toward the display. Jin's facial membranes fluttered, an expression Lee couldn't interpret. "These are the remembrance stones. Dr. Park was returning them to us before his unfortunate passing." Returning. Lee felt her suspicion grow. "These artifacts belong in Earth's Heritage Archives. They've been missing for some time." The Tela seemed to grow taller. "You are mistaken, Commander. These items were always ours." Dr. Park understood their true significance. Around them, people had begun to notice the tense conversation. Lee saw colony security officers watching nervously. "Representative Jin, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. These artifacts contain crucial information about humanity's early contact with galactic society." Jin moved closer. "What they contain is proof of things your government has hidden from you." Before Lee could respond, Jin raised a four-fingered hand. In one swift motion, the alien's open palm struck forward toward Lee's chest. To human observers nearby, it appeared the Tela had punched the commander. Lee gasped, not from pain, but from the sudden flood of images in her mind. Star maps, ancient vessels, coordinates to places humanity supposedly had never visited. Security officers rushed forward as people shouted in alarm. The memorial had erupted into chaos. "Stop," Lee called out, raising her hands. "It's a misunderstanding." But it was too late. The security team had surrounded the tele-delegates, weapons drawn. Other aliens in attendance backed away, clearly disturbed by the escalation. "This is a diplomatic incident now," Captain Kim said, rushing to Lee's side. "Are you hurt?" Lee shook her head, still processing the strange mental images. No, it wasn't an attack. It was communication. Across the room, a colony official was already contacting the Galactic Council. The tele-delegates stood calmly, making no move to resist or explain themselves. "They wanted me to know something," Lee said quietly. Something about Dr. Park and these artifacts. She looked back at the memorial display, now guarded by security officers. The artifacts seemed ordinary, but Lee now suspected they held secrets that powerful forces wanted to keep hidden. As medical staff insisted on checking her for injuries, Lee caught Representative Jin Silver gaze across the room. The tela gave a subtle nod that no one else noticed. The funeral of Dr. Park, meant to be a simple memorial, had just become the flashpoint for a mystery that stretched across the galaxy and deep into humanity's past. Lee sat in the small meeting room aboard the Colony Station, 3 days after the funeral incident. The station's recycled air felt stuffy as she reviewed the security recordings for the 20th time. The images showed the moment of contact between her and Representative Jin, what humans perceived as a punch, but what she now understood as something far more complex. "Play it again," she told the room's computer system. The holographic display flickered, showing the tela's hand touching her chest. In the recording, Lee's eyes widened at the moment of contact. She couldn't explain to others what had happened, how images of star systems and ancient technology had flooded her mind. Captain Kim entered the room, carrying a data pad. "The diplomatic situation is getting worse," he said. "The Tela Federation has filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council over the treatment of their representatives." "And the artifacts?" Lee asked. "That's the strange part. Colony security sealed them after the incident, but when they opened the containment unit this morning, they were gone." Lee stood up abruptly. "Gone? How is that possible?" "No one knows. The security systems show nothing. It's like they vanished." Lee paced the small room. The images Jin had shared with her included these artifacts: stone tablets with unusual markings and metal cylinders covered in script no human linguist had fully deciphered. But in the mental transmission, she had seen translations, star maps pointing to systems humans supposedly had never visited before joining the galactic community. "I need to see Dr. Park's personal quarters," she said suddenly. Kim looked surprised. "Why?" "Just a feeling." 2 hours later, they stood in the small apartment where Dr. Park had lived during his final research expedition. Colony officials had sealed it after his death, but Lee's military authority granted them access. The space was sparse but cluttered with research materials. Physical books lined the walls, an expensive luxury on a colony world. Holographic projectors displayed star charts that rotated slowly. "Look for a journal," Lee instructed. "Something personal, not official research logs." They searched methodically. Kim found it tucked between physical books on a high shelf, an actual paper notebook, bound in synthetic leather. "This is ancient technology," Kim said, handling the book carefully. Lee took it and began reading. Dr. Park's handwriting was neat and precise. Most entries detailed mundane research activities, but as she flipped through the pages, certain passages caught her attention. "Listen to this," she told Kim. "The Galactic Council classification of humanity as an uplifted species is based on manipulated evidence. The artifacts contain proof that humans reached the stars independently, centuries before official first contact." Kim looked skeptical. "That's impossible. Our first faster-than-light journey was only 70 years ago, under the guidance of the Tela Federation." "According to official history," Lee pointed out. She continued reading from the journal. "If humans learn they achieved space travel independently, our status in the galaxy would change overnight. We would be reclassified as an inheritor species with full autonomy. Certain factions will do anything to prevent this." The final entry was dated just 2 days before Park's reported death. "Meeting with Jin tomorrow. The artifacts must return to their rightful place. If I don't survive, the truth still must." Lee closed the journal. "Park knew something that got him killed." "You think his death wasn't an accident?" Kim asked. "I think nothing about this is accidental. The funeral, the artifacts, the teledelegates, it's all connected." Lee's communication device chimed. The screen showed an urgent message from Earth Command. "Retuorin, I'm MBDAT Loy." Galactic CONCL threatening SANCTIONs. Earth's KONCL at risk. We're being pulled back, Lee said, showing Kim the message. What about the investigation? Lee tucked Dr. Park's journal inside her uniform. Officially, we're following orders. Unofficially, she paused, remembering the strange connection she'd felt when Jin touched her. I think we've been drawn into something bigger than a diplomatic incident. As they left the apartment, Lee noticed a small symbol etched into the doorframe, identical to one of the markings on the artifacts and matching an image Jin had placed in her mind. Kim, she said quietly, I need to assemble a team. People we can trust. For what? To find those artifacts and discover what really happened to Dr. Park. She traced the symbol with her finger. Because I think he found proof that everything we know about humanity's place in the galaxy is a lie. Outside the viewport, the stars of Farsis' system glittered against the blackness of space, each one possibly holding a piece of humanity's true history, waiting to be rediscovered. Lee's team gathered in the cargo hold of the small transport ship they had borrowed from the colony fleet. Captain Kim stood beside her, along with Officer Choi, a security specialist with a talent for breaking encryption, and Dr. Han, an expert in ancient languages who had worked with Dr. Park years earlier. This is everyone we can trust, Lee asked Kim quietly. Plus our new friend, Kim replied, nodding toward the corner where a slender figure stood partially hidden in shadow. Representative Jin had secretly contacted them before they left the colony, asking for asylum. The telediplomat now wore simple human clothing instead of ceremonial robes, though nothing could disguise the blue skin and silver eyes. I risked everything to share the truth with you, Jin said, stepping forward. My government does not know I am here. Lee addressed the small group. What we're doing is unauthorized. If anyone wants to leave now, there will be no consequences. No one moved. Good, Lee said. Now, Jin has provided coordinates to a location Dr. Park visited shortly before his death. It's an unmapped asteroid in the outer reaches of the Tharsis system. Choi looked skeptical. Unmapped. The system has been fully surveyed for decades. Only officially, Jin replied. There are many things kept hidden from most humans. The journey took 14 hours. When they arrived, the asteroid appeared unremarkable, just another chunk of space rock. But when they scanned it, the results were strange. The readings don't make sense, Choi said, studying the ship's instruments. It's showing hollow spaces that change position every time we scan. Cloaking technology, Jin explained. Very old, from before your people were known to the galaxy. They landed in a small crater. Dressed in environmental suits, they made their way to what appeared to be a solid rock face. Jin placed a hand against the surface and pressed in a specific pattern. A doorway appeared, revealing a tunnel leading into the asteroid. Dr. Park discovered this place using clues from the artifacts, Jin said as they walked through the tunnel. It is a library of sorts, left by the Velen. Who are the Velen? Dr. Han asked. An ancient species, extinct for thousands of years. They visited Earth long before the Galactic Council acknowledged humanity's existence. The tunnel opened into a large chamber filled with technology that looked nothing like the sleek designs of current galactic society. Here were bulky machines with physical controls, displays showing unfamiliar symbols, and storage units lining the walls. Dr. Park spent months studying this place, Jin said. He discovered that the Velen made contact with humans over 500 years ago. That's impossible, Han said. 500 years ago, humans were still using primitive combustion engines. Not all humans, Jin countered. The Velen found isolated groups who showed potential. They shared knowledge, taught these humans early space travel techniques. Lee remembered the images Jin had shared during their contact at the funeral. These humans built ships, she said. They traveled to nearby stars. Yes, Jin confirmed. But then the Galactic Council discovered Earth. By their laws, Any species that hadn't independently achieved faster than light travel was classified as pre-spacefaring and placed under protection and control. Choi had been examining one of the storage units. "There are records here," she said. "Star charts, technical diagrams. Some of these designs match old human legends about flying ships." "What happened to these early space travelers?" Kim asked. Jin's facial membranes fluttered sadly. "The Council erased them from your history. Their settlements on other worlds were destroyed or hidden. Their knowledge was suppressed. The Council claimed they were protecting humanity from advancing too quickly." Lee approached a central console. "And the artifacts from the funeral?" "Keys," Jin explained. "They contain encoded data that can activate this facility's main systems and prove everything I told you." "Which is why they disappeared," Lee said. "Someone doesn't want this truth revealed." A sudden rumble shook the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. "We've been followed," Kim said, checking the small scanner. "Ships entering orbit. Military configurations." "How did they find us?" Han asked. Lee looked at each team member. "Someone told them." "We need the artifacts," Jin said urgently. "Without them, we have no proof." "Dr. Park must have hidden copies," Lee reasoned. "He wouldn't have risked everything on the originals." Choi pointed to a small alcove at the back of the chamber. "Look at this." Inside was a simple stone box with the same symbol Lee had seen in Park's apartment. She opened it and found small crystal shards. "Backup copies," Jin confirmed. "But incomplete. We still need the originals." Another tremor, stronger this time. "They're preparing to breach the surface," Kim warned. Lee pocketed the crystal shards. "Then we need to leave. Now we know what we're fighting for, the truth about humanity's past." As they hurried back through the tunnel, Lee knew their hunt for truth had only just begun, and powerful forces were determined to stop them. The ship shuddered as it pushed through the planetary defense grid around Celeste 6, a border world just outside Council space. 3 pursuit vessels had followed them from the asteroid, but Lee's team had managed to lose them in an asteroid field. Now, with damaged shields and dwindling fuel, they needed a safe harbor. "We can't keep running," Captain Kim said, checking the ship's systems. "Sooner or later, they'll catch us." Lee studied the crystal shards they had recovered. Though small, each contained vast amounts of data, fragments of the truth Dr. Park had died protecting. But without the original artifacts, they couldn't access the complete information. "Jin," she said to the Tella who sat quietly in the corner of the bridge, "you said the punch of the funeral was communication. What exactly did you share with me?" "Not just information," Jin replied. "A connection. The Tella can create temporary psychic bonds through physical contact. What humans saw as aggression was actually an ancient ritual of trust." Dr. Han looked up from his workstation. "That's why they want you back so badly. You're now linked to Jin." "Can we use this connection somehow?" Lee asked. Jin's silver eyes blinked slowly. "Perhaps. The bond might allow us to locate the original artifacts, if we amplify it correctly." They landed on Celeste 6 as night fell, hiding their ship in an abandoned mining facility. Officer Choi set up equipment scavenged from the vessel, creating a crude amplification chamber using parts from the ship's communication array. "This might be dangerous," Jin warned, as Lee stepped into the makeshift chamber. "Our minds were never meant to connect this deeply." "We're out of options," Lee replied. The process was painful. As Choi activated the equipment, Lee felt like her mind was being pulled in 1,000 directions at once. Images flashed before her eyes, star maps, ancient texts, and glimpses of memories that weren't her own. She saw Dr. Park meeting secretly with Jin, saw him discovering the asteroid facility, saw his growing excitement as he uncovered humanity's hidden history. Then she saw something unexpected. Dr. Park wasn't dead. The vision showed him staging his own death after learning that Council agents had discovered his research. He had hidden the original artifacts somewhere safe, somewhere only someone with the knowledge he possessed would find them. When the connection broke, Lee collapsed to the floor. Kim held her to a chair as she gasped for breath. "Dr. Park is alive," she managed to say, "and I know where he is." 2 days later, they approached a small habitat hidden in the atmosphere of a gas giant. The structure was nearly invisible to sensors, using technology similar to what they'd found in the asteroid. A single figure waited for them in the airlock, an older man with tired eyes, but a determined expression. "Commander Lee," Dr. Park said, studying her face. "Jin's connection worked then. You saw." "You faked your death," Lee said. "Why?" Park led them into the habitat, where workstations displayed data similar to what they'd seen in the asteroid facility. "Because I found something that would change everything," he explained. "Not just the artifacts or the Velen records. I found a ship." He activated a large holographic display. The image showed what appeared to be an ancient spacecraft, clearly of human design, but incorporating elements that resembled Velen technology. "This vessel was built on Earth over 400 years ago," Park said. "It traveled to 3 different star systems before the Galactic Council intervened in human development. I've spent years restoring its flight recorder and navigation systems." "Where is this ship now?" Kim asked. "Here," Park replied simply. "This habitat is built around it. The original artifacts are installed in its control systems." Officer Choi stepped forward. "That's why they disappeared from the memorial. You took them back. I needed them to complete the activation sequence. The funeral was a calculated risk. I knew the Council would send observers, but I also knew Jin would be there to make contact with whoever Earth sent officially." The punch wasn't random, Lee realized. "You planned for Jin to connect with whoever investigated the artifacts." Park nodded. "The funeral incident was staged, a way to identify potential allies and pass on critical information without the Council's knowledge." Jin approached the holographic display. "Show them the final piece, Park." Park's expression became solemn. He pressed a sequence of controls, and the habitat's lights dimmed. A new hologram appeared, a complete star map showing dozens of worlds with human settlements, all established before official first contact. "The Council didn't just suppress our early space travel," Park said. "They actively destroyed evidence of human colonies. Some were relocated back to Earth with their memories altered. Others were simply eliminated." "Why?" asked Lee, staring at the map in shock. "Because humanity achieved faster than light travel independently," Park explained. "We weren't supposed to reach that technological level for another century, according to Council projections. Our development frightened them. And if this becomes known?" Kim asked. "Then humanity's classification changes immediately," Jin said. "You become equals, not subordinates. The power structure of the entire Galactic Council would be forced to change." Lee looked at the ancient human ship around them, the ultimate proof of humanity's true heritage and the key to their future. "Then we need to make it known," she said. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. Representatives from 200 species filled the tiered seating, their voices a mixture of languages and electronic translations. At the center stood Commander Lee, flanked by Captain Kim, Dr. Han, Officer Choi, and most surprisingly to the assembled delegates, Dr. Park himself, very much alive. The Council's High Administrator, a tall being with crystalline features, called for order. "This emergency session will address the allegations made by the human delegation regarding historical classification status. Commander Lee, you may present your evidence." Lee stepped forward, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. 6 weeks had passed since their discovery in the gas giant. 6 weeks of careful planning, gathering allies, and preparing for this moment. "Honored delegates," she began, "humanity has been classified as an uplifted species since our official first contact 70 years ago. This classification was based on the assertion that humans had not independently developed faster than light travel." She activated a holographic projector. Above the chamber floor appeared the image of the ancient human ship they had found. "This vessel was built on Earth over 400 years ago. It traveled to 3 star systems before returning. Its existence was deliberately hidden by certain factions within this council. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates rose in protest, but the High Administrator silenced them. Serious accusations require serious evidence, Commander. Dr. Park stepped forward. The evidence is not just records or artifacts that could be disputed. The evidence is the ship itself. At his signal, the great doors at the end of the chamber opened. Gasps echoed through the hall as the actual ship, restored to working condition, was towed into view by anti-gravity units. Though small by modern standards, its design was clearly human, yet incorporated principles that predated official galactic engineering teachings to Earth. "We recovered this vessel and its complete flight logs," Park explained. "It proves that humans achieved independent space travel centuries before the Council acknowledges." The teledelegation stood. Their leader addressed the chamber. "Our faction has confirmed these claims. Representative Jin sacrificed much to bring this truth forward. The humans should be reclassified immediately." Opposition came swiftly. A coalition of species that had benefited from humanity's subordinate status objected loudly. Their spokesman, a reptilian delegate, hissed accusations of fraud and deception. "This is clearly a human fabrication," he insisted. "Their technology could never have advanced so quickly without outside help." "Perhaps that is exactly what concerned certain council members," Lee countered. She nodded to Officer Choi, who activated the ancient ship's main systems. The vessel hummed to life. The original artifacts from Dr. Park's funeral, now reinstalled in their proper places, began to glow with soft blue light. A holographic display emerged from the ship's center, showing hundreds of star systems and the paths traveled by early human explorers. "The Velen encountered humans, yes," Lee explained. "But they did not give us space travel technology. They simply recognized our potential and observed our development. The Council intervened not to help humanity, but to control our progress." The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had long dominated Council politics found their positions threatened. Others who had suspected such manipulations saw their theories confirmed. The High Administrator studied the evidence carefully, then raised a hand for silence. "The evidence appears genuine. By our oldest laws, any species that independently achieves faster than light travel must be classified as an inheritor species with full Council rights and autonomy." The vote that followed was close but clear. Humanity's status was officially changed. Earth would now hold a permanent Council seat with full voting privileges. As the session ended, Lee stood with her team before the ancient ship that had changed their future. "What happens now?" Kim asked. "Now the real work begins," Lee replied. "Humanity will need representatives who understand both our history and our potential." Dr. Park smiled slightly. "They've already chosen Earth's first permanent ambassador." Lee looked surprised when everyone turned to her. "The Council requested you specifically," Park explained. "The woman punched at a funeral who uncovered the truth has become a symbol." Later, alone with Jin in a quiet council garden, Lee touched her chest, where the Tellah's hand had made contact months before. "I still feel the connection sometimes," she admitted. "Images, feelings that aren't mine. Is that normal?" Jin's membranes fluttered in what Lee now recognized as a smile. "No. It is extraordinary. The bond was meant to be temporary, but something in your mind held on to it. You understand us in ways no human ever has before." "Another gift from your punch at a funeral," Lee said with a small laugh. "Perhaps the most important one," Jin replied. "As humanity takes its true place among the stars, we will need those who can truly understand other minds, other ways of being." Lee looked up at the unfamiliar stars above the Council world, each one holding possibilities that humanity was now free to explore on equal terms with their galactic neighbors. The end.